My brother slept with my fiancée, so I played the video at our engagement dinner, cancelled the wedding in front of everyone, and blocked them for life. Her name was Danielle. We'd been together 4 years. Engaged for 7 months. The wedding was 12 weeks away when I found out. Venue booked. Deposits paid. 216 people invited. My brother Caleb was supposed to be my best man. He'd given a toast at our engagement party 8 months earlier that made my mother cry. He talked about how happy he was for us. He looked me in the eye when he said it. He had already been sleeping with her for 3 months at that point. I found out because of a parking garage camera. Not a hidden camera I set up. Not a private investigator. A parking garage camera at the hotel 2 miles from our apartment. I was there because I left my work bag in my car and needed something from it. I was cutting through the garage on foot. And I saw my brother's truck. Parked on level 2. Which was strange because Caleb had no reason to be at that hotel. He lived on the other side of the city. I stood there for a moment. Then I went to my car. Got my bag. Started to leave. Then I stopped. I went back to the second level. Took a photo of his truck. License plate visible. Timestamp on the photo. I don't know why I did it. Something in me already knew something before my brain caught up. I sat in my car in that parking garage for 45 minutes. At 11:23 p.m. Caleb came out of the elevator with Danielle. They were holding hands. She saw my car before she saw me. I know because I watched her stop walking. Caleb didn't notice for 2 more steps. Then he stopped too. They both stood there. Looking at my car. Not knowing if I was in it. I was in it. I didn't move. I just watched them stand there in the yellow light of the parking garage deciding what to do. They decided to walk to his truck like nothing was happening. I watched them get in. I watched them sit there for 4 minutes. Then Caleb drove out. He drove right past me. I was close enough to see his face. He was looking straight ahead. Not at me. Straight ahead. Like if he didn't look at me I didn't exist. I drove home. Danielle wasn't there yet. I sat on the couch. She came in 20 minutes later. Said she'd been at her friend Rachel's. Said Rachel was having a hard time and needed someone to talk to. I said, "Oh, that's too bad. I hope Rachel's okay." She said, "Yeah, she'll be fine." She kissed me on the cheek. She went to get ready for bed. I sat on the couch and listened to the water running in the bathroom. That was night 1 of 11. I didn't confront them. Not that night. Not the next day. Not the day after. People ask me why. The honest answer is I knew that the moment I confronted them it would become their story. They'd cry. They'd explain. They'd give me their version. There would be conversations and arguments and she'd say it didn't mean anything and he'd say he was sorry and my family would get involved and there would be 2 sides and people would pick sides and somewhere in all of that the clean truth would get muddy. I didn't want their version. I wanted mine. So I watched. And I documented. And I waited. I put a small camera in the living room of our apartment. Not hidden for the purpose of catching her. Hidden because I needed evidence for what I already knew and couldn't prove in a way that would survive the coming conversation. I needed something that wouldn't get explained away. I got it on day 4. She came home at 9 p.m. and said she'd been working late. I said the office called the apartment line looking for you around 7. She said she'd stepped out for a coffee. I nodded. She went to take a shower. While she was in the shower her phone buzzed on the coffee table. I didn't touch it. Didn't need to. The camera had audio. It picked up the notification preview that played through the phone speaker when a message came in. Caleb's name. A voice preview. 4 words. You get home safe. 4 words. From my brother. To my fiancée. At 9 p.m. After she'd told me she was working late. That's not a text you send your brother's girlfriend after a normal day. That's not a check-in between people who have nothing to hide. I sat with that for 2 more days. Then I started planning the dinner. The engagement dinner was already scheduled. It had been on the calendar for 6 weeks. 43 people. Both families. Close friends. The venue had a private room with a projector screen because we'd planned to show a slideshow of photos from the past 4 years. Danielle had put the slideshow together herself. She'd spent 2 weekends on it. I let her finish the slideshow. Then I made one addition. The parking garage footage was clear enough. The timestamp was visible. The faces were visible. The hand-holding was visible. I added 2 minutes and 14 seconds to the end of Danielle's slideshow. Right after the last photo she'd chosen. A nice photo of us at the beach from last summer. Smiling. Her head on my shoulder. After that photo, 2 minutes and 14 seconds of a parking garage on a Tuesday night. I told no one. Not my best friend Jay. Not my cousin Dre who I tell everything to. Nobody. Because telling someone means the possibility of a leak. And a leak meant they'd have warning. And warning meant they'd have a story ready. I needed them to have no story ready. I also called my lawyer. Yes. Before the dinner. Before anything happened publicly. I called her, explained the situation, and asked what I needed to know about the venue deposit, the ring, The joint account Danielle and I had opened for wedding expenses. She told me. I took notes. I made decisions. I was not going to do this dramatically and then find out I'd cost myself money in the process. The public moment was the last step. Not the first. The dinner was on a Saturday. 43 people in a private room at a restaurant that Danielle had picked because she said the lighting was beautiful. She was right. The lighting was beautiful. Round tables with candles. Flowers. A projector screen at the front of the room. Her slideshow queued up on a laptop that I controlled. She wore a green dress. She looked happy. She was making rounds when people arrived, hugging everyone, showing her ring to her aunts, laughing with her bridesmaids. She was good at performing happy. I had spent 11 days watching her perform happy at close range. She was genuinely gifted at it. Caleb arrived with my parents. He hugged me. He said, "You look good, man." I said, "Thanks." He said, "You ready for tonight?" I said, "More than you know." He smiled. I smiled back. My mother said the room was beautiful. I said I hoped everyone would remember it. We sat down to dinner. 43 people. Plates of food. Glasses of wine. The kind of noise a room makes when everyone is happy and celebrating. Danielle's mother gave a small speech about her daughter. She cried a little. She said she couldn't wait to call me her son. I thanked her. I meant it. She had no idea what her daughter had done. That part wasn't her fault. That part was genuinely sad, and I sat with that for a moment. Then I stood up. I said I wanted to say a few words and then show a slideshow that Danielle had worked very hard on. I thanked everyone for coming. I talked about the past 4 years. I said Danielle had changed my life. I said that was completely true. I said I had learned things about the people I love most in the world over the past few weeks that I would carry with me for the rest of my life. Danielle was smiling up at me from her seat. I said I also wanted to take a moment to thank my brother Caleb specifically. I said Caleb had been there for me my entire life. I said there was nobody who knew me better or who I trusted more. I looked at him when I said it. He raised his glass. He was smiling. I said, "Let's take a look at the past 4 years." I started the slideshow. The room was quiet in the way rooms get quiet when something beautiful is happening. The photos were good. Danielle had done a real job on it. Honest credit where it's due. 4 years compressed into images. First trip we took together. Her birthday 2 years ago when I surprised her. A random Tuesday at a farmer's market that I hadn't even known she'd taken a photo of. The photos were the real thing. The relationship in them was real. I had loved her. That part was not theater. Her mother was crying again by the third slide. The beach photo came up. Last summer. Her head on my shoulder. Both of us squinting into the sun. I remembered that day. It was a good day. After the beach photo there was a 2-second pause in the slideshow. Normal transition timing. Then the parking garage appeared on the screen. It took people a moment. Some rooms are slow to understand what they're seeing. 43 people looking at a parking garage exterior. Slightly grainy. Timestamp in the corner. Then the elevator doors opened. And 2 people walked out. The room understood. It did not happen loudly. That's the thing I remember most. It didn't happen with shouting or a crash or something cinematic. It happened in the specific silence of 43 people realizing at the same moment what they were seeing. Danielle made a sound I won't describe. Caleb stood up. His chair scraped back. He said my name. I didn't look at him. I watched the screen. The 2 minutes and 14 seconds ran completely. The hand-holding. The getting into the truck. All of it. Clean and clear and time-stamped. When it ended I closed the laptop. I said I won't be getting married. I said the venue deposit is non-refundable and I've already spoken to my lawyer about the other financials. I said the ring will be returned by end of business Monday. I said I wish everyone here a safe drive home. I picked up my jacket from the back of my chair. I walked out. 43 people in that room. I have spoken to 31 of them since that night. Not one of them has defended Danielle or Caleb to my face. My mother called me from the parking lot while I was still driving home. She was crying. Not at me. Just crying. She said she didn't know. I said I know, Mom. I said I know you didn't. She said, what do I do about Caleb? I said that's between you and Caleb. I said my only request is that you don't ask me to be in the same room as him. She said she wouldn't. She hasn't. My father called the next morning. He's a quieter man than my mother. He said, son, I'm sorry. 3 words. I said I know, Dad. He said you handled it the way you needed to handle it. He said I'm not going to tell you how to feel about your brother. He said I love you both and that's going to have to be enough for right now. I said that was fair. He said call me later this week. I called him that Wednesday. We talked for an hour about nothing in particular. That conversation was more valuable than any conversation where he tried to fix it would have been. Dre called me 20 minutes after I got home that Saturday night. He said I was at the dinner. I said I know. He said do you need anything? I said not tonight. He said I'll be at your door tomorrow morning with food. I said okay. He was there at 9 a.m. with enough breakfast food for 4 people. He didn't bring his wife. He didn't bring anyone. Just him and the food and the understanding that some situations call for presence and not advice. Dre is a good man. I've known this for 30 years. That morning confirmed it. The messages from Danielle started that night and continued for 19 days. I know it was 19 days because I saved them before I blocked her. Not because I wanted to reread them. Because my lawyer said documentation. Documentation always. The messages went through phases the way they always do. First phase, shock. She couldn't believe I'd done it that way. The humiliation. The public. The families. She said I had embarrassed her in front of everyone she loved. I found it interesting that this was the first response. Not I'm sorry. Not I was wrong. The first response was about what I had done to her. Second phase, explanation. It had only been 4 months. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. She loved me. She had made a terrible choice and she knew that. She needed me to understand the context. There was context. There was always context. I did not respond to any of it. I read each message exactly once. Then I set my phone face down and went about my day. Third phase, anger. I had humiliated her family. I had planned it coldly. I had sat across from her for 11 days knowing and saying nothing. That was cruel. That was calculated. I had treated her like an object in my revenge plan rather than a person who deserved a conversation. I read that message twice. Because she wasn't entirely wrong. I had treated it like a plan. Because it was a plan. Whether that was the right thing to do is something I've thought about a lot. My therapist and I have talked about it at length. She said the execution was controlled to the point of being clinical. She asked if I'd considered just confronting them privately. I said yes. She asked why I hadn't. I sat with that for a while. I said because I needed it to be unarguable. I said because if I confronted them privately there would have been a version of events where I overreacted or misunderstood or made it messy. I said I needed 43 witnesses to a 2-minute and 14-second video so that there was no version of events. No narrative available. Just evidence. Time-stamped and irrefutable. She wrote something in her notepad. Then she said that makes complete psychological sense. Then she said it also means you were more focused on being right than on being free. I've thought about that sentence almost every day since she said it. She's not wrong. She's also not entirely right. Both things can be true. Caleb called once. 3 days after the dinner. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. I listened to it once. He said he was sorry. He said he knew that wasn't enough. He said he loved me and he knew he'd destroyed something that couldn't be fixed. He said he wasn't going to make excuses. He said he just needed me to know that he knew. That he understood what he'd done. He sounded like himself. That was the worst part. Not a stranger's voice. My brother's voice. The same voice that called me after every bad day I had for 30 years. The same voice that talked me through breaking up with my girlfriend sophomore year of college. The same voice from 8 months earlier standing at a microphone at our engagement party talking about how happy he was for us. I deleted the voicemail. Then I blocked his number. Then I sat in my apartment for a while in the quiet. My therapist asks me sometimes how I feel about Caleb. I tell her what I know to be true. I tell her the grief is different from what I felt about Danielle. With Danielle there was anger and betrayal and loss, but underneath it all, once the anger settled, there was also clarity. I didn't actually know her the way I thought I did. The person I grieved wasn't real. The real Danielle was the one in the parking garage. I could grieve what I thought I had and let go of it because the actual thing hadn't been what I thought. With Caleb it's not like that. I knew Caleb. The real Caleb. 30 years of the real person. And the real person did this. The real person who knew me better than almost anyone decided that what he wanted was worth what it would cost me. And he made that choice for months. 14 weeks of my engagement party toast. 14 weeks of Sunday dinners and family group chats and asking me how the wedding planning was going. 14 weeks of looking me in the eye. That's not a stranger betraying me. That's 30 years of a person I loved making a choice. That grief doesn't simplify the way the other kind does. It just sits there. Heavy and specific and shaped exactly like my brother. I'm learning to carry it. The practical things resolved efficiently because I had prepared them. The venue deposit was gone. That was the cost of the plan. I had accepted it before the dinner. There are prices you decide to pay in advance. The joint wedding account, my lawyer's advice protected my portion. Danielle's family had contributed money we agreed to return. We returned it. My family's contributions were documented. The process was clean. The ring came back on Monday as I had said. Delivered by Danielle's sister who handed it to me at the door without saying anything. I thanked her. She nodded. She left. The ring went to my lawyer's office and then was liquidated. That money is in a savings account. I haven't decided what to do with it. It sits there. Sometimes I forget about it for weeks. The apartment was in my name. Danielle had moved in 2 years earlier. She had 30 days. She was out in 18. She took what was hers. She left what was mine. The division was civil in the way that two people can be civil when one of them wants to leave as quickly as possible and the other has nothing left to argue about. I changed the locks on day 19. Not because she had shown any signs of coming back. Because it was the right ending to a chapter. Something physical. Something final. The locksmith took 20 minutes. I tipped him. He left. I stood in my apartment with new keys in my hand. New locks. Same apartment. Different life. That was 14 months ago. I'm telling you this from the same apartment. Same couch. But the room looks different because I rearranged it. Small thing. Significant thing. Moved the couch to the other wall. Bought a new coffee table. Got rid of the rug she picked. Not out of bitterness. Out of the understanding that when you rebuild you sometimes need to change the physical space so your brain stops playing old footage in the corners. The space is mine now in a way it wasn't before. That's the only way I can describe it. Jay checked on me every week for the first 3 months. Then every 2 weeks. Now it's when we feel like it, which is often. He never once said you should have handled it differently. He never said what you did was too much. He just kept showing up. That's what a real friend does. Not advice. Presence. Dre and I have a standing Tuesday lunch. This started after everything. We never talked about why it started. It just started and it stuck. My parents are navigating their way through having 2 sons who do not speak. My father handles it by not bringing it up and treating both of us the same as he always has. My mother handles it less smoothly. She is a woman who wants the people she loves to be okay, and the situation prevents that on a structural level. I feel for her. I've told her I understand her position. I've told her I don't require her to choose. I've just asked her not to relay messages and not to try to arrange scenarios where Caleb and I might accidentally end up in the same place. She honors that. She slips sometimes. I forgive the slips because she is my mother and she is in pain, and that pain is not her fault. Caleb I have not spoken to. Not once. Not a word. 14 months of silence that I made a decision about and have not second-guessed. My therapist asks me periodically if the block still serves me or if I'm maintaining it out of habit. It's a good question. I ask it of myself. The answer so far has been that it still serves me. A door can open when I'm ready. I'm not ready. Maybe I will be. Maybe I won't. That's a future decision. Danielle, I don't think about the way I thought I would. The mind is a more efficient machine than we give it credit for. It processes and reorganizes, and after 14 months what used to be a face I could summon in detail is now something softer and less specific. She exists in the past tense and stays there. I don't carry her forward. There's nothing to carry. What I carry forward is different. I carry the parking garage. Not as pain. As information. The specific knowledge that the people closest to you are capable of things you would not have believed they were capable of. That's not cynicism. It's calibration. You don't stop trusting people because one of them failed catastrophically. You just stop assuming that proximity to your life guarantees alignment with it. I carry the 11 days. The building of something instead of the reacting to something. I've had people tell me that was cold. That a less calculated response would have been more human. I understand the perspective. I don't fully agree with it. The calculation was how I survived it. The building of the plan was how I took something that was being done to me and turned it into something I controlled. Not everyone would do it that way. It was the only way I knew how to do it, and I'm not sure I'd change it. I carry the voicemail I deleted. I carry it specifically because I deleted it. Not because deleting it was the wrong thing to do. Because I know the weight of choosing to delete someone from your life who you once loved completely. That's not a light thing. I don't carry it as guilt. I carry it as the honest cost of what happened. Not every story has a villain who was always a villain. Some villains were people you loved first. That's the specific weight of this kind of loss. It doesn't simplify. I carry Dre showing up at 9 a.m. with breakfast food. That one I carry easily. That one doesn't hurt at all. People ask me if I regret the dinner. I've given different answers at different points in the last 14 months. Early on I said no without hesitation. Clean and immediate. A wall. 6 months in I said I think I did what I needed to do, but I'm still figuring out what I needed. Now, 14 months out, sitting in a rearranged apartment with new locks and a savings account with ring money in it and a standing Tuesday lunch with my cousin. I don't regret the dinner. I regret the 11 days of sitting at a table across from her and performing normal. Not because of what it did to her. Because of what it required of me. The performance cost something. The building of the plan cost something. I came out the other side intact and directed and clear. But the intact and directed and clear version of me had to spend 11 days being something I'm not. That's a cost I'd think harder about next time. There will not be a next time. But if there were, I'd also say this. The dinner didn't fix what was broken. Nothing fixes what was broken. The dinner was not healing. The dinner was a door closing. A clear, clean end to something that couldn't be left open. What came after the dinner, the therapy, the Tuesday lunches, the rearranged apartment, the slow rebuilding of a life that was mine and nobody else's, that was the actual work. The dinner was 2 minutes and 14 seconds. The work is everything after. There's a woman I've been seeing for about 2 months. I'm not going to say much about her here because what we have is ours and not a coda to someone else's story. She knows the broad strokes of what happened. She didn't ask for details. I told her what felt right to tell. She listened without making it about her or about what it meant for us. She just listened. Then she said that sounds like it was really hard. Then she changed the subject because she understood that was what I needed. She's good at understanding what people need. I've noticed this. I've noticed it without making it mean too much too fast. I'm better now at watching people over time rather than deciding early what they are. I brought breakfast to her apartment 2 weeks ago. Not a grand gesture. Bagels. Coffee. We sat on her fire escape because it was warm enough and watched the street below and didn't say much. I was content in a way that I don't have better words for. Not the relief kind of content. Not the survive something kind of content. Just the regular Saturday morning kind. The kind that doesn't require a story. That's the part I didn't expect. That eventually the story stops being the main thing. That you wake up one morning and the parking garage is just a parking garage and the dinner is just something that happened and you are just a person on a fire escape eating a bagel on a Saturday. I didn't expect to get here in 14 months. I thought it would take longer. I think the planning helped, actually. The controlled exit meant I didn't leave anything behind me unresolved. No conversations I didn't get to have. No version of events I didn't control. I closed the door completely and walked away with clean hands, and that completeness has meant that the healing moved faster than it might have otherwise. Or maybe I've just been lucky. Dre and Jay and Tuesday lunches and a woman who listens properly. Maybe that's what made the difference. Either way. 14 months. New locks. New coffee table. Bagels on a fire escape. The 2 minutes and 14 seconds are in the past where they belong. Everything after is mine. End.